Welcome to World Information HD, the place where hidden treasures come to light and history meets fortune. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of numismatics to uncover the top 10 most valuable and rare Lincoln wheat pennies from the United States. These small copper coins, once used in everyday change, are now worth millions and carry incredible stories of history, rarity, and fortune. Stay tuned, because you might just discover that one of these pennies could change your life forever. Today's journey takes us deep into the heart of numismatics, into a year where the world was changing, a time shadowed by war, economic recovery, and national resilience. And in the midst of it all, a simple copper penny was minted in the United States that would go on to capture the fascination of collectors for generations. We're talking about the 1940 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that has become both a historical relic and a potential fortune for those lucky enough to own one in pristine condition. Now, when you hear the word penny, you probably don't immediately think of rarity, wealth, or history. It's just a small copper coin that barely buys anything in the modern world. But in the world of rare coins, a single penny can hold a story of American resilience, artistry, and economic change. Some pennies have been known to fetch prices that rival the worth of gold or silver coins, and the 1940 no-mint mark wheat penny is one of those surprising gems. Let's set the stage. The year was 1940. The United States was still climbing out of the Great Depression, industries were rebuilding, and the storm clouds of World War II were gathering overseas. Millions of Americans carried Lincoln wheat pennies in their pockets every single day, exchanging them for groceries, newspapers, and bus rides. These coins were ordinary for the people of the time, but today, for collectors, they represent a tangible connection to a pivotal era in history. The 1940 Lincoln penny was struck at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But the one we are focusing on is the 1940 Philadelphia issue, the one with no mint mark. Unlike the Denver mint coins, which carry a D, and the San Francisco issues marked with an S, coins struck in Philadelphia traditionally carried no mint mark at all. To the untrained eye, it might seem just like any other penny, but here lies the beauty: a 1940 penny without a mint mark isn't just an ordinary coin. Its condition, rarity, and historical context elevated into something remarkable. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln wheat cent had already been circulating for over 3 decades by 1940. First released in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the design featured the 16th president's portrait on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent, on the reverse. This design became iconic, a symbol of both Lincoln's enduring legacy and the hardworking, agrarian roots of America. The wheat penny is one of the most beloved designs in U.S. coinage history, and the 1940 issue carried on that legacy. But what makes the 1940 no-mint mark penny so special? Let's start with mintage numbers. In that year, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 500 million wheat pennies, over 586 million coins. With such a high mintage, it might seem impossible that this penny could ever be worth much more than face value. After all, how could a coin that was produced in such abundance become rare or valuable? The answer lies in condition, historical importance, and collector demand. While most of those 586 million pennies circulated heavily, being exchanged thousands of times, very few survived in high grades. Coins that were kept safe, never entering circulation, and preserved in almost perfect condition are extremely scarce today. Collectors prize these top-condition coins because they showcase the original mint luster, the sharp details of Brenner's design, and a snapshot of 1940 craftsmanship. When examining a 1940 no-mint mark wheat penny, numismatists look closely at several factors. Luster: does the coin still shine as though it just left the mint? Strike: are Lincoln's features, such as his hair and beard, sharply defined? Surface preservation: is the coin free of scratches, nicks, and discoloration? Eye appeal: does the coin simply look beautiful, balanced, and attractive to collectors? It's these qualities that transform an everyday penny into a numismatic treasure. But let's dive even deeper. The 1940 no-mint mark penny also fascinates collectors because of the era it represents. Copper, which was the primary metal in these pennies, would soon be needed for World War II efforts. Just a few years later, in 1943, the United States switched from copper to zinc-coated steel pennies to conserve resources for the war. This means that the 1940 issue stands as one of the last abundant pre-war copper wheat pennies, making it a historical marker for the numismatic community. Holding a 1940 penny is like holding the calm before the storm, the last normal years before America entered the global conflict of World War II. Eras and varieties also play a role in the value of 1940 pennies. While the Philadelphia Mint aimed for perfection, mistakes inevitably happened. Collectors actively seek out doubled dies, repunched mint marks, for the Denver and San Francisco issues, and off-center strikes. While the 1940 no-mint mark penny doesn't have as many well-documented major varieties as other years, coins with unusual flaws or striking errors can command impressive prices at auctions. Imagine stumbling upon one in a family coin jar. What might look like a flawed penny to you could be worth hundreds or even thousands to a collector. Over the decades, collectors have turned to the 1940 wheat penny as a cornerstone in Lincoln cent collections. It's not the rarest wheat penny ever made, but its historical importance, combined with its potential in high-grade conditions, makes it a must-have. Many coin albums and sets highlight it as part of the pre-war years of Lincoln cents, cementing its popularity among both beginner collectors and seasoned numismatists. Another aspect to consider is how grading affects value. Third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins with rigorous standards, assigning grades on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70. A circulated 1940 penny found in pocket change today might grade between 3 and 20, and it would be worth only a few cents. But a coin preserved in brilliant uncirculated condition, say MS-65 or higher, could command staggering prices at auctions. That's where the magic lies. The leap from pocket change to a collector's dream. Imagine for a moment the journey of a single 1940 penny. Perhaps it was minted in Philadelphia, struck from fresh copper, and entered circulation that same year. Maybe it passed from a young child buying a comic book, to a shopkeeper giving change for bread, to a soldier preparing for deployment, and then tucked away in a jar for decades. That one coin could tell the story of American life, the small exchanges that kept society moving, and the great events of history that surrounded it. For collectors, owning a 1940 no-mint mark penny isn't just about possessing copper, it's about holding a piece of living history. So, what does all of this mean for the value of the 1940 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny today? Well, the truth is, its value can range widely depending on condition and rarity. Common, heavily circulated examples might fetch just a few cents above face value. Slightly better coins in fine or very fine condition could bring in $1 or $2. Mint state coins, gleaming with original luster, are far more desirable, with prices climbing higher depending on grade. And then there are the truly exceptional coins, the ones that have been preserved in nearly flawless condition for over 80 years. These are the coins that ignite bidding wars at auctions, that capture the attention of collectors worldwide, and that represent the pinnacle of what a humble penny can achieve. They prove that not all coins are created equal, some rise above the rest, transcending their face value to become treasures. And in the case of the 1940 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, one such treasure reached an astonishing price, selling for $53,333. Welcome back, everyone, to World Information HD, where we take you deep into the fascinating world of coins, history, and hidden treasures that may be lying in your pocket right now. Today's journey is not just about a coin, but about a story. A story of America in the 1940s, a time of war, change, and resilience, and how a small copper penny struck in Denver became one of the most talked about coins in the collecting world. This is the story of the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, when you look at a penny, it may seem like the simplest piece of money. It's small, brownish red, often overlooked, and for most people, not worth bending down to pick up if they spot it on the ground. But for coin collectors, historians, and treasure hunters, a penny can hold a secret. And in the case of the 1944 wheat penny, that secret has captured the imagination of generations. So let's dive in Imagine the year 1944. The United States was in the thick of World War II. Factories across the nation were producing tanks, planes, and weapons. Copper, a critical metal used in ammunition and machinery, was in high demand. The U.S. Mint had already experimented with making pennies out of steel in 1943 to save copper for the war effort. Those gray steel pennies looked different, felt different, and sometimes even got mistaken for dimes. People weren't too happy with them, but they were a necessity of wartime sacrifice. By 1944, however, the Mint returned to copper for pennies, but not just any copper. They used recycled shell casings from the battlefield. Yes, the very ammunition that had once been fired in the war was melted down and transformed into the humble 1-cent coin. That means every 1944 penny has a direct connection to World War II history. Every time you hold one, you're touching a piece of that story. Now, among those 1944 pennies, some were struck at the Denver Mint, carrying the small letter D right beneath the date. Denver, known for producing coins in massive numbers, struck hundreds of millions of these copper wheat pennies. But as always in coin collecting, not every coin is created equal. Some were made with tiny errors, some survived in pristine condition, and some became legendary for reasons that even the Mint could not have predicted. Before we talk about the incredible values tied to the 1944 D penny, let's step back and appreciate the design itself. On the front, we have Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909, when the wheat penny was first released. Lincoln, with his dignified gaze and timeless presence, represents strength and unity. Above his head are the words, "In God we trust," to his left the word, "Liberty," and to his right the date, 1944, followed by the letter D for Denver. Simple, but powerful. Flip the coin over, and you'll see two stalks of wheat, one on each side, framing the words 1 cent in bold lettering. Above, United States of America, and at the very top, the familiar phrase, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. This reverse design, with its agricultural motif, symbolized growth, stability, and the backbone of America's economy at the time, hard work and farming. But here's where things get even more interesting. While most 1944 D pennies were struck in copper, a few rare errors slipped through the cracks. Some were struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943, creating one of the most sought-after rarities in American coin history. Imagine holding what looks like an ordinary penny, but instead of copper, it's a silvery steel coin dated 1944 with a D Mint mark. Collectors go absolutely wild for these rare mistakes, and they've sold at auctions for astonishing amounts of money. Even without the famous steel error, the 1944 D copper penny remains a collector favorite because of its wartime connection and its place in the long history of the Lincoln Cent series. Millions of people who inherit old jars of coins, cigar boxes filled with pennies, or dusty rolls from grandparents have discovered 1944 wheat pennies in the mix. And while most may not realize it, condition makes all the difference. Think about it like this. The vast majority of 1944 D wheat pennies are worth just a few cents to $1 if they're heavily circulated, worn down, and dull. But if a coin has been preserved, tucked away carefully, showing off its original reddish luster, with sharp details and no scratches, it can leap in value dramatically. Collectors grade coins on a scale, ranging from good, where the details are barely visible, to mint state, where the coin looks almost untouched since the day it left the Denver Mint. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. Some 1944 D wheat pennies in near-perfect condition, with that bright, fiery copper shine, command prices that can shock newcomers to the hobby. And that's where the true treasure hunt begins. Because people often wonder, could there be one sitting in a jar in their home right now? Could an old penny hiding at the bottom of a drawer or in an attic be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars? That mystery is what keeps collectors fascinated and constantly searching. But beyond the money, the 1944 D penny is also a symbol of a nation's resilience. Think of the soldiers fighting overseas, the families back home collecting scrap metal, the factories retooled to build war machines. And in the midst of all that, the mint found a way to take the very remnants of war, shell casings, and transform them into coins that fueled the economy and circulated in every hand across America. It's almost poetic. From bullets to pennies. From destruction to commerce. From war to the promise of peace. It's no wonder that these coins have become cherished by collectors not only for their rarity and value but also for the story they carry. Every 1944 penny is a relic, a witness to one of the most pivotal moments in world history. Now, let's talk about some remarkable discoveries. Over the years, people have brought 1944 wheat pennies into coin shops and auctions without realizing what they had. Some were shocked to find out their coin wasn't just pocket change, it was a valuable collectible. Stories spread of individuals who thought they had just an ordinary old penny, only to find out it was worth enough to change their lives. Imagine being handed change at a grocery store decades ago, slipping that penny into a jar, and forgetting about it, only for your grandchildren to discover its true worth decades later. That's the magic of coin collecting. The past lives on in the smallest and simplest objects. As for the 1944 penny specifically, many examples in high grades have crossed auction blocks and made headlines. The coin has been studied, catalogued, and admired by numismatists, the scholars of coin collecting. And every time a stunning specimen appears, collectors from around the world compete fiercely to add it to their collections. So the next time you see a wheat penny, don't dismiss it as just an old coin. Turn it over. Look at the date. Look at the mint mark. Because you never know when a seemingly ordinary coin might be something extraordinary. And now, for the moment many of you have been waiting for. You've heard the history, you've heard the story, and you've heard why this penny matters. But how much could one of these coins actually be worth if it's in the highest possible condition, preserved like new since the day it was struck in Denver in 1944? Well, in the world of coin collecting, where rarity, demand, and history combine, a pristine example of the 1944 wheat penny has reached an incredible value of $65,763. Yes, you heard that right. What was once a single cent, a coin many would pass by without a thought, has the power to transform into a small fortune. That is the allure of coin collecting, the thrill of discovery, and the beauty of history preserved in metal. So take another look at those old jars, those boxes of change, and those pennies you thought were ordinary. Because sometimes, the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprise. Welcome to World Information HD, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the incredible stories behind them. Today, we are going to talk about one of the most intriguing and collectible coins in American history, a coin that may look like just an ordinary cent to many people, but in reality, it carries with it a rich background, a fascinating design, and in certain conditions, a value that could truly astonish you. We are talking about the 1946 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny. At first glance, this penny may not stand out. It's small, brown, and seems like just another old copper coin from the past. Yet, collectors all over the United States and beyond know that when it comes to numismatics, the study and collecting of coins, details matter more than anything. The story of the 1946 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny begins in the aftermath of one of the most significant events in world history, World War I. By the year 1946, America had emerged victorious from the war, but the economy was still transitioning from wartime production to peacetime growth. Factories that once produced weapons were turning to cars, appliances, and consumer goods. The U.S. Mint, too, had been affected by wartime shortages. Just a few years earlier, in 1943, the Lincoln penny had been struck in steel coated with zinc because copper was needed for ammunition and military supplies. This created one of the most controversial and short-lived changes in the history of U.S. coinage. When 1944 came around, copper returned to the penny, but not quite the same copper as before. The mint used recycled shell casings from the war effort to produce what collectors sometimes call shell case cents. By 1946, the transition was complete, and the wheat penny was once again being struck in the familiar copper alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Yet, the coins from this year remain especially memorable because they were among the first truly post-war Lincoln cents. Now, when we talk about the 1946 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, the phrase, no mint mark, is crucial. In American coinage, mint marks tell us where the coin was made. A D mark indicates Denver, and S stands for San Francisco, and if there is no mint mark at all, that means the coin was struck at the main Philadelphia Mint. Coins from Philadelphia are often produced in large numbers, and in 1946, the Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. But even though these coins are not considered scarce in their basic form, condition, rarity in high grades, and certain die variations can make them highly desirable. The obverse, or front side, of this penny features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth. It was the first American coin to feature a real person instead of an allegorical figure like Liberty. Above Lincoln's head, the motto, "In God We Trust," is boldly inscribed. To the left is the word, "Liberty," and to the right is the date, 1946, without any mint mark, showing that it was minted in Philadelphia. Flip the coin over, and you will see the classic wheat reverse, which was used from 1909 to 1958. Two wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent in the center with United States of America directly below it. Above, the Latin phrase E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, reminds us of the unity of the states. This wheat design is beloved by collectors for its simplicity and historic charm, making any Lincoln wheat penny immediately recognizable. What makes the 1946 no mint mark penny especially interesting to collectors is not just its history, but also its potential value in the right condition. You see, the vast majority of these pennies circulated heavily. They were used to buy candy, newspapers, postage stamps, and all the small essentials of daily life. As a result, most surviving examples today show plenty of wear and tear. But on rare occasions, collectors discover coins that somehow survived the decades in nearly pristine, mint state condition. These high-grade examples are the ones that command serious money. When professional grading services like PCGS or NGC assign grades, they look at details like the sharpness of the strike, the presence or absence of scratches, and the luster of the metal. A coin graded at the lower end, such as good or very fine, might only be worth a few cents to $1 or $2. But once you climb into the higher grades, mint state 65, 66, or higher, the value begins to soar dramatically. The rarity is not in the coin itself, but in its state of preservation. There are also certain die varieties and errors that make some 1946 pennies unique. Collectors are always on the lookout for double die errors, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes. Although Philadelphia coins don't carry a mint mark, some 1946 cents are known for slight variations in the die that produced interesting anomalies. These error coins are often one-of-a-kind or exist in very limited numbers, which makes them extremely desirable and valuable to collectors who specialize in rare varieties. Another factor that makes this coin so appealing is its connection to American history. Imagine holding a 1946 penny in your hand and realizing it was struck just 1 year after World War II ended. Perhaps it passed through the hands of a returning soldier buying his first post-war meal at a diner. Maybe it jingled in the pockets of a factory worker on the assembly line of a booming automobile industry. Each of these small coins has witnessed countless personal stories and moments in time, making them more than just currency. They are little capsules of history. So, what about the market today? Collectors around the world actively seek out high-quality examples of the 1946 no mint mark wheat penny. Online auctions, coin shows, and private sales often feature these coins, and the bidding can get quite competitive when a particularly stunning example comes up. While average circulated pennies from this year might only be worth a modest amount, the true treasures are those preserved with dazzling red luster and virtually no flaws. It's also important to note that the coin market is dynamic. Prices can fluctuate depending on demand, collector interest, and overall economic trends. Coins are not just pieces of metal. They are artifacts that tell a story, and people are willing to pay a premium for a piece of history that has survived in exceptional condition. That's why coin collecting remains one of the most popular hobbies in the world, bridging generations and connecting us with the past. When we look at the 1946 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny, we are reminded that sometimes the most ordinary-looking things can hold extraordinary value. To the untrained eye, it might look like just another copper penny from decades ago, but to a collector, it could be a prized possession worth displaying in a collection, passing down through a family, or even selling for a life-changing amount of money. And this brings us to the truly astonishing part of the story. While most 1946 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat pennies may only be worth a few cents in average condition, the highest grade examples, those rare, almost flawless survivors, have sold for breathtaking amounts at auction. In fact, one of these remarkable coins has reached a value of $56,877. The Lincoln cent, often known as the humble penny, is one of the most collected coins in American history. Among these coins, certain dates and mint marks stand out, not because they are made of precious metals or because they were struck in limited numbers alone, but because of their history, their condition, and the fascination they spark among collectors. One such coin that has become the subject of countless conversations in the numismatic community is the 1950 D mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. At first glance, it may seem like an ordinary piece of copper with little more than Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the familiar wheat stalks on the reverse. But when we look deeper, the 1950 D wheat penny reveals a story that combines American history, minting practices, and the enduring appeal of a small coin that has circulated through the hands of millions. The year 1950 was a period of transition for the United States. World War II had ended just a few years earlier, the economy was booming, and Americans were entering a new decade with optimism. The Lincoln wheat cent, designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Lincoln's birth, had already been circulating for over 40 years by that time. While most pennies from this era were produced in huge numbers, the Denver Mint's output of the 1950 D penny has captured a special place in numismatic discussions. Over 334 million of these coins were struck, which means they were not scarce by production numbers alone. Yet despite this high mintage, certain examples of the 1950 D penny can fetch remarkable prices. The reason lies in the coin's condition, its errors, and the enduring demand from collectors who wish to complete their Lincoln cent sets. To truly appreciate the 1950 D penny, we should first take a close look at its design. On the front side, or obverse, we see the bust of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head are the words, "In God We Trust," a motto that had become standard on American coinage by the mid-20th century. To the left of Lincoln is the word, "Liberty," while the date 1950 is inscribed on the right. Just below the date sits the mint mark, D, indicating that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. This small letter may seem insignificant to the casual observer, but to collectors, it provides an essential clue about the coin's origin and value. Turning the coin over to its reverse, we see the classic wheat stalk design that gives these pennies their nickname, the wheat cent, or wheat penny. Two curved wheat ears frame the sides, surrounding the central inscriptions, 1 cent, and United States of America. Above it all is the Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many one. This design remained in use until 1959 when the Lincoln Memorial Reverse replaced it to honor Lincoln's 150th birthday. Now, the question many coin enthusiasts ask is, why would a penny from 1950, struck in the hundreds of millions, ever be worth significantly more than face value? The answer lies in rarity within condition and in unique varieties. While most 1950 D wheat pennies spent decades circulating in pockets, purses, and cash registers, a small number were carefully preserved. Collectors or even ordinary citizens who noticed the beauty of a fresh, shiny coin might have tucked them away in jars, rolls, or albums. These uncirculated or mint state examples, especially those that remain in pristine condition even after 75 years, are the ones that command the most attention today. Grading plays a crucial role in determining the value of the 1950 D penny. Coins are graded on a scale from poor P1 all the way up to mint state MS-70. The vast majority of surviving 1950 pennies fall somewhere in the circulated grades: good, fine, or very fine. These typically trade hands for modest sums, often just a few cents to a couple of dollars. But when we move into the uncirculated grades, the value increases dramatically. A penny graded MS-65 red, for instance, can be a true treasure. The red designation refers to the coin's color. Lincoln cents are made primarily of copper, and over time, copper tends to darken or tone toward brown. Collectors distinguish between brown, BN, red-brown, RB, and full red, RD, examples. A 1950 penny with blazing original red luster, free from major marks or scratches, is highly sought after. Another fascinating aspect that drives up value is the existence of error coins. The Denver Mint, like all mints, occasionally produced coins with mistakes. These errors may include repunched mint marks, doubled dies, or off-center strikes. In the case of the 1950 D-wheat penny, one well-known variety is the D over D repunched mint mark. This occurs when the letter D was punched more than once into the die, resulting in a slightly doubled appearance of the mint mark. Collectors prize such varieties because they are not only visually interesting but also much scarcer than the standard issue. A strong repunched mint mark can transform an ordinary penny into a highly collectible rarity. When we examine the marketplace for Lincoln cents, we notice that demand has remained strong for decades. The series is one of the most popular in all of numismatics because it spans over a century, contains numerous key dates and varieties, and remains accessible to both beginner and advanced collectors. For someone starting out, filling a folder with wheat cents is a common first step. But as collectors progress, they often strive for higher grade examples and rare varieties, which is where coins like the 1950 D in top condition come into play. Stories from the collecting world often highlight remarkable discoveries. Imagine finding a 1950 D penny in a roll of coins from the bank, only to realize it gleams with original luster and grades MS-67 red. Such finds, while incredibly rare, fuel the dreams of treasure hunters across the country. Even more compelling are stories of collectors who, decades ago, put aside rolls of shiny new pennies straight from the bank in the 1950s. Today, those rolls can be worth thousands of dollars if the coins inside remain untouched and perfectly preserved. Another important factor to consider is the historical context of copper coinage. In the mid-20th century, pennies were still made of a 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc alloy. This gives them a distinctive weight and feel compared to the modern zinc pennies introduced in 1982. Collectors often appreciate pre-1982 pennies for their metal content as well as their historical value. The 1950 D penny, with its solid copper composition, represents a tangible piece of America's numismatic heritage. The influence of third-party grading companies like PCGS and NGC has also shaped the market for coins like the 1950 D penny. A coin encapsulated in a protective holder with an official grade provides collectors with confidence about authenticity and condition. High-grade certified examples often realize record prices at auctions, especially if they are among the finest known. Registry set competition, where collectors strive to build the best possible sets of coins, further fuels the demand for top-grade 1950 D pennies. For anyone interested in Lincoln cents, the 1950 D wheat penny is more than just another date to check off a list. It's a reminder of the artistry of coin design, the skill of mint workers, and the dedication of collectors who preserve history one coin at a time. Its story teaches us that even the smallest denomination can carry immense value, not just in dollars, but in the cultural and historical significance it represents. When you hold a 1950 D penny in your hand, you are holding a piece of mid-20th century America. Perhaps it once jingled in the pocket of a factory worker in Denver, or maybe it was dropped into the hands of a child buying candy at the corner store. Over the decades, it may have traveled through countless transactions before finally finding its way into a collection. Each mark, each tone of color, tells a part of its journey. Collectors continue to seek this coin not only for its place in the Lincoln cent series but also for the excitement of the hunt. Whether it is searching through rolls, attending coin shows, or bidding in online auctions, the pursuit of a perfect 1950 penny represents the thrill of numismatics. It embodies the belief that hidden treasures can still be discovered, even in the most ordinary of places. And so, while the majority of 1950 wheat pennies remain common and affordable, the finest examples in pristine condition have achieved remarkable values at auction. The magic lies in the details: sharp strikes, brilliant color, flawless surfaces, and perhaps even an air of variety. These factors together elevate an ordinary penny into the realm of rarity. That is why, in recent years, one of the finest known examples of the 1950 mint mark Lincoln wheat penny was sold for an astonishing $43,887. In the world of American coinage, every collector knows that some of the most fascinating treasures are not always the ones made of silver or gold, but the humble copper pennies that millions of people once carried in their pockets every day. When you hear the word penny, you may think of small change, something insignificant, but in reality, there are certain Lincoln wheat pennies that carry immense historical value, rarity, and financial worth. Among them, the 1950 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny stands out as one of the most captivating coins of the mid-20th century. To understand why this particular penny has become so important to collectors and enthusiasts alike, we need to step back into the year 1950. The United States was in a period of great transition. World War II had ended just 5 years earlier, and the country was entering an age of optimism and growth. Families were moving to suburban homes, automobiles were becoming symbols of freedom, and coins like the Lincoln wheat penny were exchanged daily in stores, gas stations, and lunch counters. At that time, few people ever stopped to consider that these small copper coins would one day be studied, admired, and even treasured as collectible artifacts. The Lincoln wheat penny itself had already been around for over 40 years by 1950. It was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin displayed Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, making it the first American circulating coin to feature the likeness of a real person rather than a symbolic figure. The reverse design displayed 2 stalks of wheat, giving rise to the nickname wheat penny. From 1909 through 1958, this design remained in circulation, before eventually being replaced with the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959. Now, the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny is particularly special because of where it was minted, or rather, where it was not. Most pennies produced during this period came from 3 mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Denver bear a small D below the date, while coins from San Francisco are marked with an S. But the Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark at all, which is why coins struck there are commonly referred to as no mint mark pennies. That lack of a mint mark makes the 1950 no mint mark penny a direct product of the historic Philadelphia Mint. On the surface, the coin may look like any other wheat penny. It has the familiar brownish red color of copper, the portrait of Lincoln facing right, the words, "In God We Trust," arched above his head, Liberty to his left, and the year 1950 just below his chin. On the reverse, the 2 wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the Latin phrase E pluribus unum resting above. Yet, while it looks ordinary, what makes the coin extraordinary is its scarcity in pristine condition and its appeal to collectors who are searching for high-quality examples to complete their wheat penny collections. During 1950, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 270 million pennies, which might sound like a huge number. And it is. But here's where rarity plays a major role. Most of those pennies entered circulation immediately. They were used to buy newspapers, candy bars, bus fares, and countless small items. They were exchanged thousands of times, stacked in jars, and carried in sweaty pockets. As a result, the majority of 1950 pennies today are heavily worn, scratched, and discolored. For coin collectors, condition is everything, and only a small fraction of these coins survived in a pristine, uncirculated state. Those few examples, carefully preserved by chance or by collectors who recognize their potential, are now worth far more than their original face value. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1950 no-mint mark penny is the way it represents a bridge between two eras. By 1950, the wheat penny design had already been in circulation for over 4 decades, and it was only 9 years away from being retired. Collectors who study the wheat penny series often point to the post-war years, like 1950, as being overlooked in comparison to earlier dates. Everyone knows about the rarity of the 1909 SVDB or the 1914D, but mid-century wheat pennies are sometimes underestimated. That underestimation, however, creates an opportunity. The 1950 no-mint mark penny is far more valuable than many people realize, especially in higher grades. When you look closely at the coin, you'll notice subtle details that add to its charm. The sharpness of Lincoln's hairlines, the crispness of the lettering, the smooth fields of copper without nicks or scratches, all of these qualities can transform what seems like an ordinary penny into a numismatic gem. Collectors often describe the thrill of holding a flawless wheat penny in their hands, knowing that most coins of that year were lost to circulation. To find one preserved in brilliant, uncirculated condition is like stumbling upon a time capsule from the year 1950 itself. Over the years, coin grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, have certified examples of the 1950 no-mint mark penny at various levels of preservation. Coins graded at the highest levels, like mint state 67 or even 68, are extremely rare. And it is those rare, high-grade coins that fetch remarkable prices at auctions and private sales. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln wheat pennies are often willing to pay significant amounts of money to secure one of these top-tier examples, especially since completing a full wheat penny set is a goal many numismatists strive toward. It's worth noting that not all 1950 pennies are created equal. Color plays a huge role in determining value. Because copper coins tend to change over time, turning from their original red to shades of brown, collectors categorize wheat pennies into 3 groups: red, red-brown, and brown. Red coins, which still retain their original mint luster and bright copper appearance, are the most desirable. Red-brown coins have a mix of reddish hues and darker toning, while brown coins have completely lost their original red color. A 1950 no-mint mark penny in full red condition, graded highly, is the kind of coin that can command an extraordinary premium. Another fascinating aspect of the 1950 penny is its role in the lives of ordinary Americans. Imagine the countless hands this coin may have passed through in the 1950s. It could have been the change given to a child buying a comic book, the coin dropped into a jukebox playing Elvis Presley's early hits, or part of the fare for a city streetcar. These pennies were witnesses to everyday life in post-war America, carrying with them the stories of a generation that was building the modern world we know today. Collectors are often drawn to that sense of history, knowing that each coin is more than just metal, it's a piece of the American story. The appeal of the 1950 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny continues to grow among collectors today. Coin shows, online auctions, and numismatic forums frequently highlight discussions about its value, rarity, and condition. New collectors entering the hobby often start with wheat pennies because they are affordable at lower grades but offer incredible challenges at the higher end. The 1950 penny embodies that balance perfectly. It is accessible to beginners yet still offers the thrill of the hunt for advanced collectors searching for top-quality specimens. When you consider all of these factors, the historical context, the design, the rarity in higher grades, the color variations, and the connection to American life, it becomes clear why the 1950 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny is so highly regarded. What was once just a simple 1-cent piece has transformed into a coveted treasure. And while most people would overlook an old penny as worthless pocket change, those in the know understand its true potential. Collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts alike continue to chase after this coin, not only for the financial rewards it may bring but also for the deeper satisfaction of owning a small yet meaningful piece of American heritage. It serves as a reminder that greatness can be found in the smallest of places, and that even the tiniest coin can carry immense stories and value. And now, for those of you who have stayed with me until the end, here is the incredible truth about its value. A 1950 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, in pristine condition, has been known to sell for as much as $49,999. Welcome back to World Information HD, where we explore the fascinating world of coins, treasures, and collectibles that could be hiding in your pocket change without you even realizing their true worth. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1951 D Mint Mark Lincoln Wheat penny, one of the classic coins from mid-20th century America that collectors continue to chase with passion. While at first glance it might seem like just another old penny, the truth is, certain rare varieties, conditions, and striking details can turn this tiny piece of copper into something worth far more than its face value. In fact, one extraordinary example of the 1951 D penny has fetched tens of thousands of dollars at auction, making it a coin that truly stands out in the Lincoln Cent series. To understand why the 1951 D penny has such an appeal, we need to step back in history for a moment. The Lincoln Wheat Cent was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials, VDB, became both famous and controversial when they first appeared prominently on the reverse of the 1909 issue. The wheat stalks that appear on the back of these coins symbolize prosperity and growth, and they remained on the design until 1958, when the Lincoln Memorial reverse replaced them. That means that the 1951 D penny sits squarely in the later years of the Wheat Cent series, before the big design change. Now, what makes this particular penny from 1951 so special? First, let's talk about its origin. The D Mint mark tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint. That year, Denver produced a very large number of pennies, over 625 million, which means the coin is not rare in terms of mintage. In fact, it was one of the most common years for Lincoln cents. However, rarity in coin collecting isn't always about how many coins were made, it's about how many survive today in pristine condition, and whether or not unusual errors or varieties exist. Most 1951 D pennies that were used in everyday commerce quickly became worn down. They passed through countless hands, were tossed into pockets, purses, piggy banks, and cash registers, and by the time collectors started setting them aside, many had already lost their luster. The copper composition of the coin, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, also makes it prone to darkening and spotting over time. This means that finding one today in excellent condition, with its original reddish shine and no signs of circulation, is much more difficult than people imagine. Let's consider the different factors that influence the value of a 1951 D wheat penny. First is its grade, or condition. Collectors often rely on professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC to assign a grade, which ranges from good for a heavily worn coin to mint state for one that looks almost exactly as it did the day it was struck. A coin graded MS65 or higher, especially with that brilliant red color that copper collectors love, can command a serious premium. On the other hand, if you have a coin that is scratched, discolored, or worn down from circulation, its value will be minimal, often just a few cents. Next, we have the question of errors and varieties. Error coins are some of the most exciting finds in the hobby, and the 1951 D penny is no exception. During the minting process, mistakes can happen, dies may clash, coins may be struck off-center, doubled dies may occur, or planchets may be misaligned. Some 1951 D pennies are known with slight doubling on the date or lettering, which always excites collectors. Others might show repunched mint marks, where the D was stamped more than once, creating a shadowed or doubled look. These tiny details can make the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and a coin worth hundreds. Another important aspect is eye appeal. Even two coins with the exact same grade might fetch different prices if one has an exceptional look, bright red luster, sharp strike details, and no distracting marks. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for coins that are not only technically high grade but also visually stunning. The 1951 D penny in its best form can be one of the most attractive wheat cents of the entire series. Let's also think about the historical context. By 1951, the United States was in the early years of the Cold War. The nation was still adjusting after World War II, and the Korean War was underway. Life in America was marked by both optimism and tension, and pennies from this era circulated through the hands of families who were just beginning to enjoy the post-war economic boom. For collectors, holding a coin like the 1951 D penny isn't just about the metal, it's about holding a tiny time capsule from the past, a reminder of an era when even the smallest denomination carried significance in daily life. Now, imagine this. You're sorting through a jar of old change passed down from a grandparent. You spot a wheat penny, flip it over, and see the little D beneath the date 1951. Your heart races. Could this be just another common coin, or could it be one of the rare examples that collectors are searching for? The thrill of discovery is one of the things that makes coin collecting so addictive. And yes, while most 1951 D pennies won't make you rich, the possibility that yours could be worth hundreds or even thousands is enough to keep the hunt alive. So, how do you tell if you've got something special? First, check the condition. If your coin still has its original bright copper color and minimal wear, that's a very good sign. Next, look closely at the mint mark under magnification to see if it shows doubling or unusual features. Finally, consider getting the coin graded by a professional service if you believe it's in high condition. Coins and certified holders with a high grade always attract stronger bids at auction. But here's where the story gets truly exciting. While the average circulated 1951 D penny might only be worth a few cents, and nicer uncirculated examples might bring in $10 to $50, the very best of the best can achieve astonishing results. In fact, at a major coin auction, one incredible specimen of the 1951 D wheat penny, graded at the top of the scale with breathtaking eye appeal, sold for an extraordinary sum. This single copper penny, weighing just 3.11 grams, brought in a price that no one holding it in 1951 could have ever imagined. That penny sold for $53,847. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth just 1 cent in 1951, a coin that could have been used to buy a stick of gum or tossed into a payphone, later became worth tens of thousands of dollars in the hands of the right collector. That is the magic of coin collecting, the blend of history, rarity, condition, and passion that can transform something so ordinary into something truly extraordinary. So the next time you come across an old penny, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. That simple copper coin might not just be pocket change, it could be a hidden treasure waiting to reveal its story. And who knows? You might just be the next person to discover a 1951 D wheat penny in unbelievable condition, a coin capable of turning heads and commanding a price far beyond what anyone expects from a humble 1-cent piece. The year was 1953, and the United States was still basking in the post-war boom. Factories were busy, families were buying homes, cars lined up on the streets, and prosperity seemed to touch every corner of American life. In the midst of this era, small copper coins clinked in pockets, were passed across counters, and were carried in change purses every single day. Among these coins, the Lincoln wheat cent quietly circulated, almost unnoticed by most. Yet today, collectors around the world pay close attention to these humble pennies, for they carry stories, mysteries, and in some cases, incredible value. In this video, we will dive deep into the history, details, varieties, and collector interest surrounding the United States of America 1953 Denver Mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny. We will explore its design, how it came into existence, the errors that make some examples so highly prized, and why coin collectors continue to chase after these fascinating relics of the mid-20th century. The Lincoln wheat penny had already been circulating for more than 4 decades by the time 1953 rolled around. First introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the design by Victor David Brenner was revolutionary for its time. It was the first U.S. circulating coin to bear the portrait of a real person rather than a symbolic representation of liberty. On the obverse, Lincoln's dignified bust faces to the right, with the word, Liberty, to one side and the motto, In God We Trust, above. On the reverse, 2 simple wheat stalks encircle the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, giving the coin its nickname as the wheat penny. For millions of Americans, these coins were simply part of daily life, but for collectors, they quickly became an icon. In 1953, production of Lincoln wheat pennies took place at 3 mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Denver Mint, identified by the small d beneath the date on the obverse, produced a large number of coins that year. More than 700 million wheat cents rolled off the Denver presses, making it the largest contributor of pennies for that year. With such high numbers, it might seem that every coin from this mint would be common, but the truth is more complex. Condition, strike quality, and minting errors make all the difference. When we speak of the 1953 Denver wheat penny, collectors often separate them into categories based on their condition. Coins that remained in circulation for decades typically show heavy wear. Lincoln's hair details fade, the wheat stalks on the reverse flatten out, and the coin's original red luster disappears into a dull brown. These worn examples usually hold only sentimental or historical value. However, when you step into higher grades, coins preserved carefully, perhaps stored in rolls, sets, or simply forgotten in drawers, the value begins to rise significantly. Collectors prize coins with original mint luster, sharp strikes, and minimal blemishes. A 1953 Denver wheat penny in mint state condition can exhibit rich red surfaces, as if it had just been struck yesterday. These coins capture the beauty of mid-century minting and allow us to glimpse what pocket change really looked like in its freshest form. In the coin grading scale, examples graded MS-65 or MS-66 are often breathtaking to behold. Their bright red color, flawless fields, and crisp detail make them highly sought after. But condition is only one piece of the puzzle. What truly excites collectors are varieties and errors. The 1953 Denver wheat penny has its share of both. In the process of minting hundreds of millions of coins, mistakes were inevitable. Some dies were overused, creating weakly struck coins. Others developed cracks, resulting in raised lines on the coin's surface. Double die obverse and reverses, while not as common as in other years, exist and remain thrilling finds. In some examples, the D mint mark was repunched, leaving a ghostly shadow beneath the final impression. To the trained eye, these varieties turn an ordinary penny into a treasure worth far more than its face value. Imagine being a young coin collector in the 1950s, scouring through change and noticing something unusual. Perhaps the date looked doubled, or the mint mark appeared strange. Back then, such discoveries would have been made with nothing but a magnifying glass and patience. Today, these same discoveries are documented, catalogued, and highly valued. Entire guides are dedicated to helping collectors identify the quirks of the 1953 Denver penny, making it one of the more intriguing dates for those who love searching through rolls. The Denver Mint itself adds another layer of fascination. Known for its strong output and high production numbers, the Denver facility played a vital role in supplying coins to the rapidly growing western states. The mint mark, D beneath the year, tells a story of its origin, a reminder that even the smallest coin was part of a larger network feeding the nation's economic expansion. Every time we hold one of these coins, we are in touch with a piece of Denver's history. Over the decades, collectors have continued to preserve and study these pennies. Some were tucked away in old cigar boxes, handed down through families, or forgotten in attics until rediscovered. Others remained in the hands of serious numismatists, carefully stored in protective holders to maintain their original brilliance. Each surviving coin carries not just copper and design, but a fragment of mid-century America. Think about the hands it may have passed through: a factory worker grabbing lunch, a child buying candy, a mother paying for groceries. Each coin is a witness to daily life in 1953, now elevated to a collectible worthy of admiration. The wheat penny series as a whole has always been a favorite starting point for collectors. Its long run from 1909 to 1958 makes it approachable yet full of challenges. The 1953 Denver coin is not the rarest of the series, but it provides a perfect example of how quality, condition, and variety can transform a common coin into an extraordinary one. It also represents the penultimate decade of the wheat design before the transition to the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959. For many, these late wheat pennies are nostalgic, capturing the end of an era, Another factor influencing the value of these coins is their copper composition. Unlike modern pennies made primarily of zinc, wheat cents were struck in an alloy of 95% copper. This gives them a rich color, weight, and feel that modern coins lack. As the years go by, the intrinsic metal content of these coins adds to their appeal, especially for those who appreciate the tangible connection to America's past monetary system. So, what is it about the 1953 Denver wheat penny that makes collectors so eager to add it to their collections? The answer lies in a combination of abundance and scarcity. While millions exist in lower grades, the challenge comes in finding pristine examples, rare varieties, and coins with exceptional eye appeal. This balance keeps the market lively. Beginners can enjoy searching for common examples, while seasoned collectors chase after the finest and rarest specimens. Auction houses have seen some remarkable sales of high-grade 1953 Denver wheat pennies. Coins graded at the very top levels, with blazing red luster and immaculate surfaces, can draw fierce bidding wars. For collectors who appreciate beauty, history, and rarity all in one, these coins are irresistible. They represent the perfect storm of nostalgia and numismatic excellence. As we reflect on the journey of the 1953 Denver wheat penny, we can see that it is more than just a piece of copper. It is a window into 1950s America, a reminder of the artistry of the U.S. Mint, and a symbol of how even the smallest coin can carry extraordinary value. From its humble beginnings in the Denver Mint to its rediscovery in coin collections today, it has traveled across time with stories embedded in every scratch, shine, and detail. The next time you encounter a wheat penny, take a closer look. You might find yourself holding history in the palm of your hand. And if that penny happens to be a 1953 Denver Mint mark in stunning condition, you just might have something far more valuable than pocket change. Because among the countless coins struck in that year, a select few have commanded staggering prices. In fact, one exceptional specimen of the 1953 D. Lincoln wheat penny has reached the impressive value of $49,876. Welcome back to World Information HD, the channel where history, rarity, and hidden treasures come together to surprise you. Today we're going to explore a coin that has fascinated collectors for decades and continues to spark excitement every time it appears at auction. This coin is none other than the United States of America 1953 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. At first glance, it may appear as just another old copper coin, a small piece of change that could have easily been overlooked in someone's pocket or fallen between the cracks of a wooden floor. But as you'll soon discover, the story of this penny is not only fascinating but also holds a value that is truly breathtaking. To understand why the 1953 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny has such significance, we must go back in time and explore the coin's origins, its design, its connection to American history, and why collectors across the globe compete fiercely to own one in the best possible condition. The Lincoln wheat penny first appeared in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the very first circulating United States coin to feature the portrait of an actual person, and not just any person, but one of the most beloved presidents in American history. Victor David Brenner, a talented sculptor, was chosen to design the coin, and his depiction of Lincoln's face has stood the test of time, still used today on modern pennies more than a century later. On the reverse of the coin, 2 wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent, giving the penny its well-known nickname, the wheat cent, or wheat penny. This design was a symbol of prosperity, agriculture, and strength, a fitting tribute to Lincoln and to the values of the nation at that time. For collectors, the wheat cent series is one of the most iconic and desirable coin series ever minted in the United States. Fast forward to the year 1953. America was experiencing rapid changes. The Korean War had just ended, Dwight D. Eisenhower was president, and the post-war economy was booming. Everyday Americans were filling their wallets with coins and bills, perhaps without ever noticing that the pennies in their change were part of something historically significant. The 1953 Lincoln wheat penny came from 3 mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint, as tradition dictated, did not place a mint mark on its coins, which is why when you find a penny from 1953 without a letter underneath the date, you know it was made in Philadelphia. Now, here's where things get interesting. Although millions of 1953 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat pennies were struck, not all of them are equal in the eyes of collectors. The vast majority went into circulation and were used daily for small purchases like candy, newspapers, and bus fares. These circulated coins today are fairly common and may only fetch a few cents or perhaps $1 or $2 depending on their condition. But what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is quality and rarity. Coins that manage to survive the past 70 years without ever entering circulation are called uncirculated coins. These pennies often still gleam with their original copper-red luster, as if they just rolled off the presses. Collectors prize these gems, especially those that have been professionally graded by organizations such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC. The higher the grade, the higher the value. A typical 1953 no-mint mark wheat penny in average condition may not seem like much, but in mint state grades, especially in the upper ranges like MS66 or MS67, they become incredibly valuable. This is because very few coins from 1953 have survived in such pristine condition, making them highly desirable for those striving to complete a top-quality Lincoln cent collection. Another important factor is the historical and sentimental value tied to Lincoln cents. Generations of Americans have collected these coins, many starting their collections as children by filling blue coin folders 1 penny at a time. For many, the wheat penny was the first coin that introduced them to the world of numismatics. This deep-rooted connection adds another layer of significance to owning a rare and valuable example of the series. But let's go deeper into why certain 1953 no-mint mark wheat pennies command extraordinary prices. One reason lies in the rarity of high-grade specimens. Back in the 1950s, coin collecting was not as widespread as it is today. Most people didn't think about saving pennies in mint condition, they used them for daily expenses. Over the years, coins were handled, scratched, and worn down. This left very few untouched examples for future collectors. Another reason is eye appeal. Collectors are drawn to coins with sharp details, strong strikes, and vibrant color. A brilliant red 1953 wheat penny with no spots, no stains, and no distracting marks can take a collector's breath away. Such coins are rare, and when they appear at auction, fierce bidding wars often follow. There's also the element of error coins. Although not as common for 1953, some pennies from this year show striking errors, off-center designs, or doubled dies. These unique mistakes by the mint can make certain coins even more valuable. A collector who owns a flawless 1953 no-mint mark penny with a rare error has something truly exceptional. Collectors today scour estate sales, coin shops, and old coin jars in hopes of finding one of these treasures. Many stories exist of people discovering wheat pennies in rolls of coins from the bank or in forgotten piggy banks stored in attics. Imagine the excitement of pulling out a shiny 1953 no-mint mark penny that looks as though it has never been touched. For that lucky individual, the discovery could turn into a life-changing moment. It's also worth noting that the coin market has been steadily growing. Rare coins are not just collectors' items, they are also seen as investments. With every passing year, the number of surviving high-quality 1953 pennies decreases due to natural deterioration or mishandling. This makes the remaining examples even scarcer, and therefore, even more valuable. When we consider the journey of this coin, it's truly remarkable. From the bustling Philadelphia mint presses of 1953 to the hands of collectors in the present day, each surviving penny carries with it a story of endurance. Each one has outlived countless changes in American society, from the birth of rock and roll to the digital age. And today, it stands as a small copper witness to history. So how much can one of these tiny treasures be worth? The answer might shock you. While the ordinary 1953 no-mint mark penny may only be worth pocket change, the rarest and most pristine examples, carefully preserved over decades, have stunned collectors and investors alike. Some have crossed the auction block for jaw-dropping sums, turning what was once a single cent into a true fortune. And now, we reach the part you've been waiting for. The highest recorded value for a 1953 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, in extraordinary condition, has been an incredible $45,885. The story of American coinage is filled with hidden treasures, overlooked gems, and historical artifacts that seem so small in the palm of your hand, yet carry a value far beyond their face. Among these, the Lincoln wheat penny holds a very special place. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins that continues to spark excitement in collectors across the world, the 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary piece of copper, but as we unravel its details, history, rarity, and market demand, you will see why this coin has become so desirable and why collectors continue to hunt for it with unmatched enthusiasm. The Lincoln cent has been a cornerstone of American coinage since its debut in 1909. Created to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin marked the very first time a U.S. president appeared on circulating coinage. From the very beginning, the Lincoln cent attracted attention not only because of its historical significance but also due to the symbolic wheat ears that graced its reverse side, which stood for prosperity and agricultural strength. For decades, the wheat penny became a coin of the people, traveling through the hands of workers, farmers, shopkeepers, and children who might have bought candy with it or saved it in their piggy banks. Now, fast forward to 1956. By this time, the wheat cent had already been in circulation for nearly half a century. The United States was experiencing a booming post-war economy, and pennies were mass-produced in the millions to support growing demand in commerce. But even with such high mintage numbers, certain pieces struck that year stand out for their quality, historical context, and eventual rarity in pristine condition. The 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln cent was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and while many examples were made, only a small fraction of them survived in remarkable condition, becoming valuable collectibles today. The absence of a mint mark on this coin is the first notable detail. Coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint during that time typically did not carry a mint mark, unlike those produced in Denver or San Francisco. Collectors often seek out these Philadelphia-struck coins, particularly when they've been preserved in flawless or near-flawless condition. To the untrained eye, a 1956 penny might look like any other, perhaps even worn and dull after decades of circulation. But for numismatists, those who study and collect coins, this specific year and minting carry a deeper story. When we talk about the 1956 wheat penny, we must also consider the nuances of its composition. Like other pennies of its era, it was made primarily of copper, with a small amount of tin and zinc. This gives the coin its rich reddish-brown color when freshly struck. Over time, depending on how it was handled, stored, or circulated, these pennies could develop varying shades of red, red-brown, or brown toning. Collectors pay close attention to this coloring because the more original, red, luster a coin retains, the more desirable it becomes. A 1956 cent with full red brilliance is significantly rarer and commands higher premiums than one that has darkened with age. Grading also plays a crucial role in determining the value of this coin. Grading refers to the process of assessing a coin's physical condition under established standards. A heavily worn 1956 wheat penny might only be worth a few cents over face value. However, a coin preserved in mint state condition, meaning it shows no signs of circulation, can be worth substantially more. Coins graded at the higher levels, such as mint state 65 or higher on the Sheldon scale, are the ones that truly excite collectors. At these grades, the coin still carries sharp details in Lincoln's portrait, crisp wheat stalks on the reverse, and full luster that dances in the light. Another intriguing aspect of the 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is the possibility of errors and varieties. Coin errors occur during the minting process and can include doubled dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or even striking on the wrong planchet. While not every 1956 penny carries an error, those that do become even more sought after. Collectors adore error coins because they represent unique accidents in the minting process, essentially making each one of a kind. For example, a 1956 penny with a doubled die obverse, where the lettering or date appears doubled, could fetch significant premiums compared to a regular strike. Beyond condition and errors, historical context also drives interest. Think about what was happening in America in 1956. It was a time of optimism, technological growth, and cultural change. The interstate highway system was just beginning, television was entering every household, and Elvis Presley was revolutionizing music. Pennies like the 1956 wheat cent circulated through an America that was on the move, embodying both tradition and progress. To hold such a coin today is to hold a small, tangible piece of that vibrant decade. Now, let's talk about demand in the collector's market. The Lincoln Cent series, particularly the wheat-back design, is one of the most widely collected coins in American numismatics. Many collectors begin their journey with wheat pennies because they are relatively accessible, with common dates still available at low prices. However, completing a full set of wheat pennies, from 1909 through 1958, requires persistence and sometimes a significant investment. Certain key dates, errors, and high-grade examples can be extremely challenging to obtain. This is where the 1956 no-mint mark penny comes in. While not as rare as early teens or 20s issues, it is still highly prized in superb condition and remains an essential piece for anyone building a complete collection. Auction records and private sales show that collectors are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for these coins under the right circumstances. A pristine, high-grade 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny with blazing red color and no visible imperfections can realize incredible prices at auction. In fact, examples have been known to sell for many thousands of dollars, proving that what was once just a single cent in someone's pocket change can transform into a small fortune decades later. It is also worth reflecting on the emotional side of coin collecting. For many enthusiasts, coins are more than just metal. They are pieces of history, works of art, and links to past generations. A 1956 wheat penny may have passed through the hands of a child buying candy, a worker paying bus fare, or a family saving for their future. Today, when discovered in an old jar or inherited from a grandparent's collection, it brings with it not just monetary value but also nostalgia and a connection to American heritage. Collectors often recommend checking your loose change, old jars, or family coin albums for wheat pennies, as treasures may be hiding in plain sight. While most 1956 pennies will not be extremely valuable, finding one in exceptional condition could be like striking gold. It is this sense of possibility that keeps the hunt alive. Each coin is a mystery waiting to be solved, and each discovery brings the thrill of uncovering a hidden gem. So, why does the 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent continue to captivate collectors today? The answer lies in its perfect blend of history, artistry, accessibility, and potential value. It embodies the spirit of the wheat cent series, connects us to a defining era in American history, and carries with it the potential for unexpected financial reward. Whether you are a seasoned numismatist or just starting your collecting journey, the 1956 penny stands as a reminder that even the smallest objects can hold incredible stories and surprising worth. And now, after exploring its background, details, and significance, let's reveal the remarkable truth about its value. In the rarest conditions, with superb preservation and full red luster, the 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny has been known to sell for as much as $41,883. Welcome back to World Information HD, where we uncover the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and collectibles that might be sitting right inside your pocket change. Today's journey takes us into the story of a coin that has sparked excitement among collectors for decades, the 1958 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. This little copper piece carries far more history, intrigue, and value than you might imagine. Stay tuned as we dive into its background, unique design, mintage history, collecting demand, and of course, its potential value that could change the way you look at pennies forever. To understand why the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny holds a special place in the hearts of collectors, we first need to travel back in time to when it was minted. The year 1958 was an important one in American coinage history. It marked the final year that the United States Mint produced the beloved wheat reverse design on the Lincoln cent. For nearly half a century, Since 1909, Americans had grown used to seeing the two simple wheat stalks on the back of their pennies. These stalks symbolized prosperity, growth, and the agricultural roots of the nation. But by the end of the 1950s, a new era was about to begin. The reverse design was scheduled to be replaced with the Lincoln Memorial, a design that would dominate for decades to come. This made the 1958 issue significant. It was the end of an era, the last farewell of the Wheat Penny series. For collectors, that historical closing chapter alone makes the coin desirable. But there's more to the story than just being the last year of its kind. The coin itself features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can still be found in tiny letters under Lincoln's shoulder. Lincoln's portrait had already become one of the most recognized images in American coinage, embodying strength, unity, and resilience. On the reverse, the familiar two wheat stalks frame the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. Above it, the motto, E pluribus unum, proudly reminds us of the nation's identity. But here's what makes the 1958 penny more interesting. Coins minted in Philadelphia during that time carried no mint mark. Unlike coins from Denver, which proudly display the D mint mark, Philadelphia coins were released plain, without any letter at all. So when you find a 1958 penny without a mint mark, you're actually holding a piece struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This is why collectors often refer to it specifically as the 1958 no mint mark wheat penny. Now let's talk about how many of these coins were minted and why that matters. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of pennies in 1958. This might make you wonder, if so many were made, how could any single one be rare? That's where details like condition, errors, and surviving populations come into play. While millions were minted, most entered circulation and endured years of heavy use. They became scratched, worn, or damaged through everyday handling. Very few survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. It is these rare survivors, with bright luster and no wear, that collectors chase after. One fascinating aspect of coin collecting is the grading system, which helps determine how valuable a penny can be. Coins are graded on a scale, from poor all the way up to mint state perfection. A 1958 wheat penny found in average circulated condition might only be worth a few cents to $1. But in top grades, especially those certified by professional grading services, the price skyrockets. Collectors pay a premium for coins that look as though they just left the mint yesterday. Another factor adding excitement to the 1958 no mint mark penny is the presence of certain varieties and errors. Coin errors are accidental mistakes that occur during the minting process, and they can make a coin incredibly rare. One of the most famous is the 1958 double die obverse variety. In this error, the lettering on the front of the coin shows strong doubling, especially in the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. Very few examples of this double die penny are known to exist, making it one of the holy grails of Lincoln cent collecting. These rare errors have fetched astonishing prices at auctions, capturing headlines in the coin collecting community. But even without dramatic errors, the standard 1958 no mint mark wheat penny carries its charm and value. Collectors often seek to complete a full set of Lincoln wheat pennies, from 1909 to 1958. That means every year, every mint mark, and every variety is part of the challenge. Naturally, the final year, 1958, is always included. For sentimental reasons, many collectors like to own this last issue as a way to close the series in their albums. When we talk about coin value, it's important to remember that rarity, condition, and demand all play a role. A coin's worth isn't simply about how old it is or how many were made. It's about how many have survived in collectible condition, how much collectors want it, and whether it carries any special story. The 1958 penny checks all of these boxes. It has historical significance as the last wheat cent, it has scarcity in high grades, and it has strong collector demand. Imagine this. You're going through a jar of old coins your grandparents left behind, and you notice a shiny wheat penny dated 1958 with no mint mark. At first glance, it might seem like just another common coin. But upon closer inspection, if it's in nearly perfect condition, you could be holding on to something much more valuable. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Hidden treasures are waiting in plain sight. Another exciting dimension to this coin is its cultural impact. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation for well over a century, making it the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. Millions of Americans grew up with wheat pennies in their pockets. They were used in daily commerce, tucked into piggy banks, and given as lucky keepsakes. The 1958 penny carries with it not only numismatic importance but also emotional nostalgia. For older generations, it recalls the transition from the 1950s into the modern era. For younger collectors, it's a tangible link to the past. Over the years, coin dealers, auction houses, and collectors have all played a role in bringing attention to the 1958 penny. Auction stories often highlight how much people are willing to pay for high-grade examples. These moments inspire others to start searching through their own coins. The thrill of possibly finding one keeps the excitement alive in the hobby. It's also worth noting that copper itself adds a layer of interest. Unlike the zinc pennies of today, the 1958 penny was still made primarily from copper. Its reddish-brown shine can be breathtaking when well preserved. Collectors often debate which coins have the most attractive natural toning, with shades of red, brown, and even rainbow-like hues appearing on old copper coins. This makes each 1958 penny unique in its own way, with eye appeal being another factor that influences value. As time passes, coins like the 1958 wheat penny only become scarcer. Many were lost, melted down, or damaged beyond collectability. Every year, the number of surviving high-quality examples gets smaller. This makes the remaining coins even more desirable to serious collectors. That's why the value trend for rare pennies has generally risen over time. So what does all of this mean for you? It means that the 1958 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny is more than just spare change. It's a slice of American history, a collectible treasure, and possibly a hidden gem sitting in an old coin jar. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a beginner, taking the time to check your pennies can be incredibly rewarding. Now for the part you've been waiting for. After all the history, design, rarity, and collector demand, how much could a 1958 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny actually be worth in today's market? While the average circulated piece might only bring in a few cents, the story completely changes when you find one in exceptional condition, graded and preserved. In the highest grades, this humble copper coin has been known to reach an impressive price of $44,898.